Hey everybody, in this video we're going to be working with front wheel drive systems for Craftsman, mostly Craftsman, but MTD is made Craftsman, so anything that would be like Poolin, MTD style, right, and even some of the American or AYP yard products had made for Craftsman. And so these are what we call, or I call for sure, FWD or front wheel drive transmission systems for those kinds of lawnmowers. And now, most of the time these things get jammed up, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in this video as well as in some subsequent videos, because I want to get in a little bit deeper on that and dispel some of the issues and the myths and stuff that go on with these kinds of transmissions. And of course the biggest problem with them is really the wheels, right? These wheels, depending upon who made them at what year, there's some differences. Now this, we'll get a closer look in a bit, but this is an older wheel and it has actual bearings in it. I don't know when they stopped doing that, 30 years ago, 20 years ago. But the design is very similar to something that is modern, right? And this is probably, you'll recognize, and again, we'll get a closer look at it. There are some differences, not just in the aesthetics of the design, but those differences are actually in the physical design. And to help us out, a company called Fourtry, it would be F-O-U-R-T-Y, or 40, or something like that. You're asking me to pronounce a big word again. So they reached out to me and to this channel to see if they could help us out a little bit. And I said, sure, send me over some wheels. And what they sent was, this is the gray variant of this style wheel, right, which is a little bit more of a modern design. They had them in white, but he said we were a little bit low on stock on that. So, but they had plenty of these, and I said, wow, that's great, because a lot of times when I go to look, I don't see what I'm looking for. Like, I don't see them in gray. And now these are, we don't want to call them, well, they smell nice. Okay, smell that. Smell it! It smells nice, right? Arch is going to be over here like this. What are you doing, Arch? What? Oh, sorry. So, you see how I get sidetracked? So I wanted to kind of look a little bit deeper at these, and I can see already, right, there's actually a steel insert inside, which is good. They should have that, right? That should be something. I can tell that the rubber is similar, like it's like a plastic rubber, and it's kind of hard. You don't want anything too soft because it'll wear right away, and it should be the correct wheel. So let's get a little bit closer in here. I'm going to go dig out a machine that utilizes this. Now, there are differences in the gears and in the front transmissions. There have been many variations to these transmissions, but fear not, my Lord. We're going to go through some of that, and we'll cover some of that in this video, and I have some footage I've been collecting for some other videos to get into a little bit like how you could swap what will fit on this but won't fit on that. So stay tuned. Let's just take a little closer look before we get any deeper. I wanted to give you guys a little closer look at some of the original design. These are in mint shape, so I've pulled these aside. I'm kind of saving them for like a machine that maybe an older machine, or in case of something where I run into an issue. And this is what I want to show you right now. So if we just stick a ruler in here, and you may not be able to see it, but what I want to do is, and I'll give you a closer look another time, but if we measure the depth of the gear, so that would be from the top of the gear to the nearest obstruction, which is really this ring right here. Now this may not be the way they measure it on the website, so they do have dimensions on the website, but I'm just going to measure it here, and I'm getting about 3/4 of an inch. This is a deep, what I call a deeper. If we go to the outside, it's like 1 1/8, like to this bead here, the sealing bead. I call these the deeper wheel, and that's largely because it is deeper. Take a quick look at this one here, and again, well, I'll give you another look in a bit, but I don't really want to run the light or anything. I don't want to overexpose this. So this is set up. It's got these kind of insets here, and so that would be, so if you were to put it on, right, it would stop somewhere on this. Like if there was something that was going to hit, it would be this. And so I'm measuring about 5/8 of an inch here. All right, so it's about an eighth less clearance. And to the ring, it's about 1 inch and 1/8. But in here, it has a little bit less clearance. And you could say, well, you could maybe put washers, and yeah, you could do that. I don't know what the overall height to that is. I can look at that another time. But what I'm trying to show is that now this one's the same, and this is about 1 inch and 1/8 to the top of the gear from the flat, from the obstruction, the thing that when you slide it on, right, what is it going to hit first? And like I said, you could measure from here, right? This actually stands up. This sticks out a little bit more. That's the same as that. This sticks out a little bit more. Okay, the bearing. So when you go to put it on, if it's going to bottom out against the shaft, you'll see. So I just wanted to make that sort of that point. So you want to be careful of that. So are they 100% interchangeable? I don't think so. And that's the point I want to make. I know that on some of the older ones, the gears are different. And just to show you right here, I happen to have one gear here. And this gear is very narrow. It's about 3/8 of an inch or so in width on the actual gear surface. I don't have another gear handy, but we're going to try and find something for you. If not, it'll be in one of the other videos. And the gear is wider. It's much wider on some of the older gears. This is representative of a more modern gear, and it's got this these two sort of slots cut in it. It fits on like a key. It's like a pin, and it slides on it, and that's what engages it. There were also ones with flats on them, and that's how it, and so there was a flat on the shaft, and that's how it engaged. So there are a few different transmissions, but these do look like very nice tires. And so let's get into the video. This is the first time I've ever worked with one of these. I have worked with some rando manufacturers in the past. I had one bad experience a couple of years ago. I put some rando one on, and the customer came back, I think sometime the next year, and it had already ground up the teeth. But you know, that can happen because of what people do or what got jammed in there. I'm just going to put that out there right now. I'm not saying that this company is it's going to happen to that tire. So it's a tire, gear, wheel combination. Let me go find a machine, and we'll get started on it. Here's one here, fellas. It's a little different wheel. We'll get a closer look at it after I clean it up. It's windy out, so I don't want to run this camera. Well, you can see these wheels, they're worn, right? Worn here. Not much left of them, but there's still teeth. Now, I usually hang it over the edge, but it's dark over there. But I want to show you. We're going to wash that with the pressure washer. I've been cleaning this. It's been cleaned once. We're going to finish the clean on it. And but we want to get all that junk blown out of there. And then we'll oil it with just some motor oil. Sometimes I use like halfway decent used motor oil. It's going to get put to the side for a little while, so I don't want to leave it wet. And we're going to have to finish up our cleaning and a lubrication on it. But this might be a week or so. Up. There goes the pressure washer. Just saying hi. Now, fellas, when these machines come into the shop, they look like this, right? They're all filthy. Remember, they live about 2 feet above the ground. And this is partly the scenario why these things go bad and they get jammed up with dirt. I show and talk about cleaning everything off. And part of my tune-up and service, which is a full service, it's more than just a tune-up, is getting everything clean because it's air-cooled. The oil is helping to cool the engine by splashing all over the inside of the engine, and that oil is going to release the heat that it's pulling from the inside of the engine. The outside of the engine's got to get rid of it. Can't get rid of it if dirt's in the way, and the dirt, of course, is in the transmission. In this case here, I'll give you another look at it. This cover is broken. So service for me is a little bit more than just doing the wheels, right? And after many years of reliable service, they come in and they're not functioning anymore. And very common is the issues with the wheels. Now I'm going to just give you some tips on this machine, and I'm going to go over to the second machine there that is done, and we're going to replace the wheels on that one with these nice new wheels. So let's just get in a little bit closer, and I want to show you some tips on lubrication and cleaning and following up. And we can see right away, right, this fits on there without an issue, and it feels nice. So let's get in. All right, fellas, now I got a couple of products here we're gonna go through just to help you. So the wheel is on there, it's nice, right? Feels nice. I don't see any issues. On this side, everything is good. That side, we gotta take things apart in order to replace the backing plate, but you're gonna need a good backing plate. Now, everything in here has basically been cleaned out, so I'm pretty happy with this side, but we still need a little lubrication. And if you're having problems moving the adjuster, right, you're gonna wanna use some kind of, this is a 6-in-1, but any kind of penetrating lubricant. Penetrating lubricant is not really a lubricant per se. It's penetration in the sense of getting things to move. This one's quite sticky still, but it does feel tight and nice. And now I mentioned I put some oil on this, right? To, you see nothing rusted or anything. Now we can put a little bit more penetrating lubricant in here and work it in. You could blow it some compressed air, and we want to make sure that we're able to move this thing all the way through its pathway. And this one's actually quite clean. And a lot of times what I'll do is I follow up. I like to put oil in to get things moving, just regular motor oil, because like I said, if you don't get it moving, there's nothing you can do. If a lot of times they're jammed, and sometimes even the wheels, this steel insert here, this is a bushing, will often get caught on that shaft, and I'll have to cook it off, which will usually damage this backing plate as well. Try back here. Nothing yet. All right, let's see. Nope. Yep, we got a little bit more out of it. So we got that moving pretty good. Now to finish up, we can use some chain wax. This is chain wax, which is different than chain lube. This waxes up. It kind of becomes like a, let's see if there's anything left in this can. Yeah, we got enough. I'm gonna try to get it into the whole mechanism. Yeah, it's going in there. We'll get it from both sides. And this is going to wax up. It's going to act like a dry lube, but it leaves this waxy, like grease type coating. And there's another one that we can use, so let's put this away. So we have it moving well. Now we can also use a dry lube. This is a graphite. I would not put it on the bearing surfaces. It doesn't really work well, but on these surfaces here, these are not bearing surfaces. These things are just pieces of metal sitting on top of one another. And there's no bearing or bushing really per se. And this is a good thing to use in that location. You can also use a moly lube, which I don't have any. So we're just going to move that all the way around. Yeah, that feels good. So that's in good shape. I'm happy with that. And now, the last step. Now I got some chain wax up inside these bearings. These are actually bearings in here and up in the shaft. And you can even coat the entire gear if you want, because it'll keep it from rusting. Now, on this shaft here, you can use a chain wax if you're going to do it more than once, but to just kind of finish up a little bit, I have experimented, and I find that just, some grease on this works pretty good. And you can even put some back in here. Now, another tip I have, which is not so much, I'm not really going to show you too much in this video. Just try to push that grease in. But if we take the backing plates off, we can actually put grease all the way around these bearings outer surfaces, not the race, but the outer surface. When you push this plate on, it'll actually create another seal in this area here where the grease tends to work the dirt and water tends to work its way in. And I have found some benefits with that. The Craftsmans are not as vulnerable to that, mostly just a good cleaning every now and then and a good lubrication, they're okay. But I know with my Honda, especially the rear drive, any rear drive system, it's much more critical. You have a lot of problems. You can't pull the machine backwards. That's how you start to know things are not working out. And very often you go to move the adjuster, particularly on my Honda HRX, and you can't move the adjuster, right? So it gets really difficult. So this is the new wheel, and this is the old wheel. And you can see there's no real difference between the two. It's just an aesthetic difference. Now they do sell a number of aesthetic variations of these things, all right? So there is quite a number. Here, let's put this one back because we're actually going to go grab the other machine. I want to show you. We're going to install these on the other machine. So there's just some aesthetic variation here. You can see these are bald, they're no good anymore. So we're done with these. Now I still have to go through the rest of the machine. I got to deal with the backing plate on the other side. So I'm going to save these for this other machine. We're going to move to that in a minute. But you can find Husqvarna, styling, they're pretty much all the same. All right, except for what I showed you earlier. If you notice, right, this is a narrow gear, right? I'm going to try to find something with a wide gear, but I may have to go back to one of my older video files to show you that, because I don't think I have anything in-house right now. But for anything newer, I think you should be good to go. Let's take a look at that other machine. Now this is a machine I did recently. You can see it's in really nice shape, but this is what I had to work with. I was out of I think I have one pair of white that would fit on here with the same design, but I didn't have any gray. So I used this one. What would have came nicer is if I used a black wheel, right, instead of one of these wheels, and then put this cover on it. Let me pop that off. And I'm going to show you that I already did this one, and we're going to put those wheels on. This is an older wheel, and as I've mentioned earlier, it's a deeper wheel. Now that gear set that's on there, that's actually a narrow gear. So I can't really show, I don't have one to show you. But that's already done, it's already greased up. Let's pop these on. All right. And we'll go give it a test. Yeah, that's actually the kind of correct design. Just make sure all that stuff is tight. This one here I see is a little bit loose. Let's tighten that up. Now there's just a couple of bolts on the other side of this with some nuts you can get to. I don't remember if it's 3/8 or 7/16. They changed them. So I'm just going to give you a peek at that, fellas, and we'll tighten that up and check the other wheel. They do loosen up. Once in a while they break. Okay, just give them a test. I have one where actually everything fell off and it actually borked the holes, but that can happen. Let me tighten that up. Now this is all lubed up, and the last thing is just tighten those up, fellas. Put a wrench on them. Like I said, I've already pre-lubed them, so I think we can call this machine done. All right, let's get a test. Working good. All right, fellas, I think we have returned this machine back to its former glory. So I did all the other work. I'm not sure if that video is actually going to come out on its own, but this video here focusing on these wheels, I think they look sharp. It's going to improve I can return the machine back to its proper working function. I'm going to keep those other tires around probably for the previous machine. Pricing has to, kind of be changed a little bit depending upon how these things come out. And this one came out really nice. And with the proper wheels in the front, whoever picks this thing up is going to get a very nice older machine in really great working shape. We've checked over everything. I'm very happy. I want to say a shout out to Jai Lin for helping out and sponsoring this video and helping to support, at least in some way, this channel. So I think it's Fourtry is the name of the company that makes these. If I find out anything different, I'll let you know. But that's what's on the link in the website that he sent me to. It's on Amazon. So the prices are very reasonable, and they should work fine. As far as like longevity, that really has to do with how you use it, right? There's nothing on here that's going to just break, right, with a wheel. It looks like the product is very good quality. If you're careful with how you use it, take them off every couple of few years, get in there and service your machine properly. And for the most part, I think this machine, guys, if I were to guess, it's at least 20 years old. It could be 30 years old. And this is an indication of what you can do to get one of these things sort of vamped back up again, even if it's 15 years old, or 10 or 15 years old. I'd say it's probably about 15 because they changed the body design several times over the years, and the more current design that you see in like Home Depot and what have you, that might be made by MTD. AYP made a number of these. That newer design is, I want to say, has probably been out since about, just for a guess, about 2002, 2005. So you're already at 10 years, right? If you take care of this stuff, fellas, it'll keep going. I'll see you guys on the next one.